Hey, thank you so much for joining us at our Crosspoint Church podcast. Now, if you're new to our podcast or maybe new to our church in general, we're just a bunch of messed up people who don't have it all together, running after a heavenly leader who loves us and meets us right where we are. We hope this message encourages you, builds your faith, and strengthens your confidence as you continue down this journey of what it means to know and follow Jesus. Enjoy this message.
All right, bring it in. Coach Constantine, can I even call you coach? You weren't just my second grade football coach. You were a legend. You didn't just teach us about football. You taught us about life, teamwork, showing up, and never giving up. Honestly, I can't even believe you're here today playing. And between you and me, my money is on you. And sorry, Abby, no offense. Usually I'd be rooting for you if you were playing my dad, but, this is coach. Don't worry, though. I'll call it fair, no favoritism, no bias, bet you. For the most part.
Yeah, that's how this is
Vince, the GOAT, call it in the air. Heads or tails?
Thank you, Matt. Heads. What's going to be rolling?
It's heads.
Yes.
Vince, what's your call?
I'll receive.
All right, Coach. Looks like you're up first. Today, your opposing team is going to give you a random prop.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, yes. Classic. Take it away, Coach.
If you can't see that, it says Preparation H on it, so that ought to go over pretty well. Well, hey, first of all, welcome to Crosspoint. You guys having fun tonight? Yeah, what a way to kick this off. Hey, we're so excited you're here. We know there's a lot of places you can be, and we are so excited you decided to start your Super Bowl weekend with us. And we are going to continue the fun. One of the great things around here is we love to have fun. We love to make church fun but also purposeful, because we believe that you can have all of that all in one place at one time. We've been doing this for 17 years, and over those 17 years, right, on this Gameday Teachoff, we've seen a lot of different connections, and all those connections have really led us to, continued growth, continued spiritual growth, and most importantly, a lot of fun. No matter what your spiritual background is, we can all agree on one of America's national pastimes and holidays. And that's the Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl brings people together. Whether you're a football fan or not, maybe you just want to watch the game, maybe you're an interest in one of the two teams that's playing, maybe you're just there because of the parties and all the fried food, or maybe it's just because, I want to know what commercials are going on so I can judge which ones are great, which ones stink, so I have something to talk about at work. But no matter who you are, no matter your background, no matter what you believe about God or church, we're really excited that you're here. We know here at Crosspoint that one of the things that we do that we find really important is to connect the dots on who Jesus is, the person he is, and that we can understand what it is that he's speaking to in our life, even through something like this, even through football. So we're going to get after this today. We're going to have a lot of fun. But before we do, I just want to pray for us. Dear God, I'm so thankful for the ability to laugh. I'm thankful for the ability to have fun, thankful for the ability to learn. Look at all the meaningful things that this game brings. And we want to be able to put all that together in your name today. In your name we pray. Amen. Well, hey, listen, there are so many storylines to choose from the NFL this year, right? So maybe you look at Aiden Hutchinson, the defensive end from the Detroit Lions, came back from an injury. Christian McCaffrey, out all last year, comes back and has a spectacular year. Or maybe here in Indianapolis, right, we had a storyline that really resonated throughout the country. We got an old man out of retirement to play quarterback for our team. Now, he's 44 years old. Now, in football terms, that's like 97, 98, someplace in there, right? Which I got to be careful because I'm quite a bit older, so that makes me archaic, okay? So here we go. We bring this guy in. He hasn't thrown a pass in 5 years. He hasn't been hit in 5 years. And frankly, after watching him practice for the first time, he didn't look all that good in that uniform. Now, I probably shouldn't talk because he probably felt like I do on spring break when I put my swimsuit on for the first time. I'm like, dude, what happened? Right? So it's an unexpected act to his final portion of his career. And what a great way and what a great message it sends, especially to those of us in the AARP card. But the real story, and it's just because I'm repping the Patriots here today, the real story about this football season is New England Patriots quarterback Drake May. You see, Drake had a historic season, a historic run this year, and a lot of that was based on what he taught us about growth, what he teaches about trust, what he teaches us about faithfulness. See, the first big idea that we want to talk about today is that consistency beats flash. See, last year, Drake was a rookie. And a rookie is drafted high as he was in the NFL draft. It's because the team stinks. So when he comes in, anytime you draft a quarterback, you think, man, this guy is going to be the savior of our team, lead us to the promised land. And they want immediate results. Every team does. We do too here in Indianapolis. They wanted immediate results. And what did they get? They got another losing season. They got a losing season. In fact, the quarterback play even got worse. So there was a lot of questions about Drake. Now, typically in the second year that a quarterback's in the league, which he is this year, his second year usually is kind of wrought with all sorts of roadblocks and tripping points, whether that be defensive coordinators kind of figure them out, or they figure out the consistency of their play, or whatever it might be, and the expectations only grow. In fact, they have a phrase for it. It's called the sophomore slump. But instead of having a slump, instead of taking a step back, all he did was put together one of the most successful seasons in franchise history. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the New England Patriots, they had this guy. His name was Tom Brady. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. A lot of people refer to him as the GOAT. He won 6 of his 7 championships in New England, so they know something about quarterback play. But you see, here's the cool part about this. The way that Drake May went about it, he didn't do it by being flashy. He didn't do it by all of a sudden becoming this flashy player with all sorts of bling around him. What he did is became more consistent. The second big idea that we want to talk about here today is that growth is proven by consistency, not occasional brilliance. See, after his rookie season, Drake probably sat back and thought, man, I got to do some serious soul searching, a little introspection. I got to review film. I got to look at all the things I did wrong, all the places I made mistakes. I got to sit back and think about every single play, every single game. And we all do that to ourselves, don't we? We are our own worst critics. But here's what he focused on. He decided, I'm just going to take one thing. I'm not going to look at the big picture. I'm just going to look at one thing. I'm going to get more accurate with my passes. I'm going to throw to receivers when they're open. I'm going to throw completions, not interceptions. I'm going to make sure that my team has positive gains down the field. And here's what he did in his second year. These are the stats. He had a 72% completion percentage, which by any standards is an NFL record for a second-year quarterback. 13 games. I don't understand the passer rating. But over 100 is really, really good. He did that 13 out of 17 games. So that's week in and week out excellence. And then 3 weeks ago in a playoff game where his team needed him the most, he was 91% completion percentage, 21 out of 23. That's absolutely amazing. And here's the cool part. There were no circus throws. There were no Patrick Mahomes moments. There were no Caleb Williams moments where you're throwing a pass, not even looking to the back of the end zone at the end of the game. They were just simple, consistent, smart decisions. And here's the crazy thing, man. In sports and in life, consistency matters. Can you be counted on? Can you be trusted? It's those things that if you're consistent in, build teams, build cultures, and most importantly, build families. You see, consistency takes a commitment. It takes a commitment to things like discipline. Discipline is doing what you say you're going to do. Pretty simple, but we so often miss the mark. It takes preparation. That means I got to kind of put my game plan together. I can't just show up, expect to be a great parent. I can't show up a great employee. I can't show up to be a great teacher or a great friend. I got to put a little bit of work into it. And then I got to be intentional about it. That means every single day I got to wake up knowing, hey, what's the next thing for me? What am I going to work on today? Not just winging it, not just going through the motions. You see, most of us, if we're honest with ourselves, we want these breakthrough moments. But in reality, we need breakthrough habits. See, most of us want these big moments to be like come out of the sky for us. We want the big viral win, right? We want to post a video today and by tomorrow it has 2 million followers. That probably is unlikely to happen, especially for guys my age. We want the big promotion. We see something in our employee handbook. Or we see an opportunity online and we're like, man, I want that big promotion. Or we just want the sudden change. We're like, man, I want to take a change in direction and I want to go. But a lot of times, man, if you want to be a great leader, and I'm not talking about leader by position or by title, we're all leaders. We're leaders in here. We're leaders in the community, in the classroom. We're leaders in our jobs, in our work, at the grocery store. And most importantly, we're leaders at our own kitchen table in our own homes. And it's simple things. It's things like, hey, just showing up. Just showing up. That's 9/10 of the battle. Or maybe it's just doing the little things when no one's watching. That preparation, that game planning, that being intentional. It's doing all this work that's just consistent and it's uncelebrated. And you know what? Here's what Drake May did, right? He didn't go out and do all sorts of flashy stuff like we talked about. Man, he just stacked good reads. He stacked good throws, good days. He just did all the little things. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh my gosh, this is so irritating. This is like a massive pain in the rear end. Let me tell you what might help with that. Not speaking from experience, but so it says, for pains in the backside. So maybe you need a little Preparation H to help. Now, Jesus had something to say about this, not about Preparation H, though it's a fine product, allegedly. But here's what Jesus said about this. One time in Luke chapter 16, verse 10, he said this: whoever is faithful in little things will be faithful in large things. This is the idea, the concept of what you sow and is what you reap. The concept of sowing and reaping. When we sow things like planting seeds, think about that for a moment. When we go out and plant seeds in a garden, we don't plant them today and tomorrow expect, man, I want all the flowers in the world. I want all the fruit. I want all the vegetables. No, we know it takes time. We know that we have to do the right things. We've got to simply water the ground. We've got to clear the shrubs so that the sun can shine. We've got to pull the weeds. We've got to cultivate the soil. It's the same thing in life. You don't just plant a crop today and it produces tomorrow. It takes time. And what we know from that experience and that analogy is that over time, as we continue to stack those small wins, great things will happen. See, here's where this hits very close to home, and I'm sure it hits close to home for you as it does for me. Many of us are frustrated because we're like, God, I'm looking for a big change. Dude, where are you? Where are you in that moment? But here's the simple truth. We think we're waiting on God, but God's waiting on us. See, he's put a lot of simple disciplines in front of us to follow, but we just want to do our own thing. We just want to go out and make things happen, the big win, the big promotion, because we just think we deserve it, instead of putting in a little bit of time, putting that time up front. You see, he's already put some of these disciplines in front of us. Like, for example, maybe just today or tonight or tomorrow, instead of doom scrolling for half an hour, you just spend 5 minutes in the Bible app, just looking at a reading plan, maybe doing a little scripture reading, maybe just praying. And it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Just thank God for the moment that you have, for the things that you've got, and what he's going to do in your life. Maybe it's just starting each day with a posture of gratitude, being thankful for the fact that I've got a house that I'm sleeping in that's not freezing cold. I'm super thankful for that. It's just showing up. It's doing those simple little things. Because here's the truth. When we do those things, flashy faith fades fast, but consistent faith, like an investment, compounds. So that's why consistency will outlast intensity anytime. So here's our challenge this week. This is kind of what I want to think about as a practical takeaway. Think to yourself this week, man, what is one thing that I'm chasing, where I'm chasing a big win, where really I could be building daily faithfulness? Maybe it's just one small discipline. Maybe it's a relationship that you need to repair. Maybe it's a text you need to send someone. Maybe it's something in your faith. Maybe something in your leadership, your family. Whatever it is, what is it that you need to recommit to? I'm not asking you to change 10 things. I'm not suggesting you make dramatic or all these crazy changes that no one will ever be able to keep up with and some sort of dramatic overload. No, it's just one faithful step. Because here's how this works. When you stack all these little things together long enough, God does something extraordinary with them.
Touchdown to the coach. Coach is given 7 points for a solid argument, and he's also awarded 2 more points for the use of Preparation H. That's why you're the GOAT, Coach. So at the end of the first, it's Team Walter's Coach 9 points, Team Craig 0. All right, Abby. Well, welcome to game day, and good luck today. Sorry, I just can't believe this is me with Coach Constantine. 2nd grade. Look at that stance. Perfect form. Speaking of, which reminds me, get your random prop for your opponent.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes. Gizmo the guinea pig. To think that thing is live? Good luck and take it away, champ.
Live, huh? How good is it to have Vince here tonight? How awesome was that, kicking us off in the first quarter? And I got to say, I didn't peg you for a Patriots fan. That's so interesting to learn. Anybody out there rooting for the Seahawks this weekend? Anybody looking for that? Yeah, me too. I got to say, as we're looking at NFL storylines this season, one of my favorite storylines of the big game this weekend is the redemption of this guy, Sam Darnold, or as Marshawn Lynch refers to him, Ginger Cuz. Think about the trajectory of this guy's career. Let me tell you about it if you're not familiar. He started with a bang. He was drafted number 3 overall in the 2018 draft, became the youngest week 1 starter in modern NFL history. And then fast forward to today, the biggest moment of his life. He's led his team to not only the top seed in the conference, but to the Super Bowl. He's the favorite to win and receive that MVP award. But in between those years, in between 2018 and here to 2026, this guy has been through some stuff. Sorry. He struggled with inconsistent play and injury issues in his first couple seasons in New York, not to mention he had to play for the Jets during those seasons. Then he was traded to the Panthers, alternated as a starter and a backup, and continued to deal with injuries, inconsistencies. Then spent a year as a backup to Purdy in San Francisco before finally his breakthrough season last year with the Vikings. As Vince mentioned a minute ago, I think one of the reasons that we love the Super Bowl is because we long for those breakthrough moments, those big game, top of the mountain moments of life. But the truth is, most of our lives are lived in the in-between, in those middle spaces where it can be so easy to begin to believe that what we're doing doesn't really matter, that we're not making an impact. And I think one thing that Sam Darnold has demonstrated through his journey that I believe is actually true of all of us is that what we do in the middle matters. One New Testament writer, a guy named Paul, gave this encouragement for those moments in the middle. He said, "So let's not allow ourselves to get fatigued doing good. At the right time, we will harvest a good crop if we don't give up." Now, you may be familiar with some of Paul's story. Maybe you know about kind of his origin story, his beginning point, this dramatic beginning where he is on his way in this totally different direction and on this road, and Jesus meets him there. It's a literal blinding experience that shakes up the whole trajectory of his life. Maybe you know some about Paul's legacy, about the years that he spent traveling and planting communities and writing, how he became known as the most influential leader in the early Jesus movement. But I bet that you don't know much about the years between those two things. See, we assume that after that big road to Damascus turning point moment, that it was go time, that Paul's journey from that point was all up and to the right, but that's not actually how it went down. See, he tells us in his own words in Galatians, he says, "Immediately after my calling, I got away to Arabia. Later, I returned to Damascus, but it was 3 years before I went up to Jerusalem." Which, don't get lost in the weeds of all these places. The point here is that this is all we know about those 3 years of his life. He has this huge turning point moment, and then he just falls off the map. After those 3 years, Paul spent just probably a couple of weeks in Jerusalem, and then he spends the next 11 years beginning to share the story of what's happened to him, beginning to tell people about Jesus in another region. But the impact of those 11 years, apparently not much. We've got no record of anything significant coming out of those years of Paul's work and life. So what that means is there was a span of 14 years between his beginning point when he set out on this path and the moment when any of his impact began. Between his draft day and the things that he is now known for, his breakthrough season. The writer of Acts conveniently glosses over this part of Paul's story, but not Paul himself. Because, see, he understood from his own experience that what happens in the middle matters. That he never would have gotten here if he hadn't gone through there. All of the failures, all of the lessons, all of those moments that had to feel so insignificant at the time, all of those times in the middle when he had to wonder, what am I doing here? Those were the seeds of growth that he would need to be prepared for what was to come. This is the well that Paul is drawing from when he writes, "Don't grow weary of doing good." And I think Sam Darnold might resonate with that posture of persistence. I don't know where in your life you might find yourself in the middle today. Maybe you're in between jobs, in between relationships. Maybe you're in the aftermath of a loss that you just aren't sure how to navigate yet. Perhaps you're right in a grind toward a dream or a goal that just still feels so far from fruition. Maybe you find yourself in a difficult season of parenting or in your career. Whatever it is, as you watch Darnold take the field this weekend, I hope that you'll be reminded that what happens in the middle matters. There is wisdom you will need that you can only find there. There is strength and skill that is being developed in ways that you cannot see through your current struggles. And there's actually a depth of connection with God that we might never reach for if it weren't for these middle spaces. See, when you can't see where you want to be, when you feel trapped with your vision restricted in a cage like Gizmo, when you aren't sure what to do next, what does Paul say? He says, do something good. Plant a seed, show up, speak life, lend a hand, look to the margins, keep working, keep fighting, keep going. Now, I know there's a million reasons right now to get fatigued with doing good. But we're here. Crosspoint exists because we believe that God has invited us to more than just mastering our own individual lives. That all of us, whether you've been a part of this community or you've just walked in for the very first time today, all of us were made to be a part of something bigger than ourselves, to plant seeds that will someday lead to something good. And when we come together and do life God's way, even when the timeline is unclear, we can find the power to say, we will not get tired of doing good, and we are not giving up.
Boom! Touchdown! Team Craig earned 7 points for bringing the good and another 2 for integrating Gizmo the guinea pig. Absolute champ energy. That's the end of the first half. Here's the score. Team Walters Constantine 9, Team Craig 9.
All right.
I know, Mom, but no one else is wearing it. I mean, it's embarrassing. Yeah. I guess mac and cheese is fine for dinner. All right, love you. I'll see you then. Bye. All right, well, Mom said I had to wear this. Team Craig, normally I'd say you got this locked up, but you're not playing against my dad this year. And quick update, your opponent's nowhere to be found. So I guess that means you can just grab any random prop that you want. Dealer's choice.
Okay.
Good choice. Take it away, champ.
All right, old men can't hang, huh? So I don't know about you. I think we've given enough coverage so far tonight on these two teams that most of us probably don't care all that much about. So how about we spend a little time talking about what we can learn this year from our team? I mean, what a year it has been to be a sports fan in Indiana. Am I right? From the Pacers' amazing finals run. That one, any Pacers fans in the house? Okay. This one was such a big deal in my house that I actually spent my 10-year wedding anniversary at a finals game with my 5-week-old baby in tow. And let me tell you, the looks that I got pushing a stroller through the streets of Indianapolis after midnight were interesting, but it was worth it because it was an amazing experience. This was also the year, of course, of the unstoppable, undefeated Indiana Hoosiers. Yeah. And we cannot forget the Colts and our very own Indiana Jones. Now, I have to admit, I did not see the Colts coming this year. When I heard that Daniel Jones had won the starter spot, I was honestly like, I'm sorry, who? What? I have to admit, I hadn't really been keeping track. I'd forgotten what it felt like to have hope around the Colts' future. And I know I'm not the only one. You might not want to fess up to it today, but at the beginning of the season, The Athletic did this Hope-O-Meter poll that ranked us the very least optimistic fan base in the league. Just 7% of Colts fans reported optimism about the season ahead. That was where we were, and it's understandable. We've grown so used to disappointment when it comes to the Colts. And so then, remember what it was like early on in the season? It felt so good. At first, we're like, is this a fluke? It's got to be a fluke. And then all of a sudden, we're like, we don't punt. We're never going to punt again. You know, we're getting hyped up on the Daniel Jones, thinking maybe he really is the secret weapon that we have needed all this time. Hold on. Here we go. I'm getting this. Hey! I don't know if I get 2 points for that, but hopefully, Matt, help me out. Seriously, though, do you remember how fun the first half of the season was? Of course, it didn't end the way that we hoped, but here's what I believe the Colts proved before Jones went down with that injury, that we were better primed for a comeback than most of us had dared to imagine. And I wonder if the same might be true for you today. At the core of Christian faith is this idea of resurrection, of life springing up from places that we believed were dead, gone, buried. This is actually what sets Christianity apart, that it's a movement not based on what someone taught or wrote down, but on something that happened. This unexplainable mystery that Jesus died and then didn't stay dead. And that as a result, these followers who first fled and hid in fear ended up risking their lives to re-engage and share the story, the same story that here we are, over 2,000 years later, still talking about. One account of this event describes it like this. In the aftermath of Jesus' death, John tells us that his friends, his fans, had locked themselves in a room in fear. And this makes sense, right? In the wake of disappointment, of pain, this is often what we do. Our inclination is to hide out, to do what we can to put up walls to protect ourselves from getting any more wounded than we already have. We do this when we fear our team will disappoint us, but we do it in so many other more consequential arenas of our lives. And so it's in this space, in this moment, that John tells us Jesus enters. He shows up for them for the first time after they had watched him literally die. And he stands among them and says, "Peace to you." And then he shows them his hands and his side. He shows up. He breaks through the wall, through their defenses, and he shows them his scars. I don't know what you might believe about the afterlife. In a room this size, we probably have a lot of different images of what that might be like. But there's something really mind-blowing that's going on in this story that may actually challenge what many of us have thought or believed. See, there are lots of places in the biblical narrative that talk about resurrection, about a promised future of restoration, of all things being made right. And most of us, if we buy into this, or at least if we want to believe it, we probably picture resurrection as this future state where all pain is erased, where we have these bodies that are perfectly healed and whole. But this moment, this story that John writes for us, is the only example that we're actually given of what a resurrected body is like. And what are we told about it? That the resurrected Jesus bore the scars of what he had been through. Think about what that means. It means that resurrection is not about erasing pain. It's not about discounting the stories that have made you who you are. Resurrection is about pain transformed and given purpose. In early December, Colts owner and my husband's current celebrity crush, Carly Ursay-Gordon, reportedly wrote this on a whiteboard in the Colts conference room: "The things which hurt instruct." She drew a box around it to make sure that it wouldn't get erased, that it would stay up there as a reminder. Now, I know the Colts have a lot to figure out in this offseason, but this is the mantra that she has placed before the organization. A reminder not to cower in the wake of disappointment, but to allow the pain to fuel us forward. You might have a decision to make about what to do with your own pain points today. I wonder, what if you allowed your pain to instruct you? What if you resisted the temptation to build up the defenses, to protect yourself from future disappointment, to protect yourself from the overwhelm that you feel as you look at everything going on in the world around you? And what if you dared to believe that you might actually be primed for a comeback more than you have hoped or imagined? What if you dared to believe that transformation is actually available? Because just like he did on that day in that room with disciples huddled up behind a locked door in fear, Jesus might just be breaking through your defenses, showing up to say, "I know that you thought that story was over, but we are just getting started."
Touchdown, go Colts for the shoe. And that's not just the end. That's just a setup for an amazing comeback. 7 points to Team Craig for a top-notch message, and you killed that random prop. That's an additional 2 points. So at the end of the third quarter, it's Team Craig 18, Team Walters Constantine 9.
Let's go. Yeah. How about these Patriots? Let's go. Here we go, fourth quarter.
All right,
I know,
whatever. You've got the ball to start the fourth quarter,
Yes.
and we've got to land this plane,
Let's
man.
land it. Let's
We're
get this
1 minute
thing going.
away from Foot Locker turning those lights off and pulling down that gate. Your opponent has your random prop. Take it away, boss.
Oh, yeah, awesome. Look at this right here. All right, who's having fun this weekend? You guys having some fun this weekend? Man, I tell you what, I'm so excited to be with you this weekend. And you know the one thing I'm not excited about? I'm not really excited about either of these teams. They're going to be playing Sunday night. You know who I am excited about? I'm excited about the Hoosiers. Come on. Not only doing that, we're doing this right here. Oh, yeah. You know what? Let's talk about this for just a moment. We're not just going to wave a rally towel. I tell you what, this was one of the best stories of the year. I mean, not just the NFL. I mean, this was all of sports. In fact, my entire life, I don't know if I've seen a story like this. Got the losingest team ever in college football. They do a complete turnaround in what, 2 years? All right, but these guys, they were not the favorites. This was a season that, you know, every year they start with predictions and they say, hey, who's got the talent? Who's got the 5-star recruits? You know, who has the trends that are going their way? And who's going to contend? And guess what? They're talking about everybody else. They weren't talking about the Hoosiers. They were talking about how, you know, teams like the Hoosiers, they're projects, right? The Indiana Hoosiers, they never even started on that radar. In fact, this is one of the reasons I think that this story about what they did this year really matters. Now, Jane Pauley, she's a Indiana native. She did a story on them. Talked a little bit about what this means to her as an alumni. Take a look at this.
I am a proud alumna. Not only that, I'm a Hoosier. 5 generations on both sides.
Black, straight ahead, touchdown. Yes, touchdown.
Now my Hoosiers have reached the pinnacle, a national championship within their grasp. Consider that at the start of this season, Indiana held the record for the most losses by any college football program.
Woo! Let's go, Hoosiers! Let's go!
That's the kind of story we Hoosiers can get behind. A come-from-behind underdog story. Rudy.
And don't forget, men, today's the day we're gonna win. They can't wing us in the fight, and who's gonna go in there and fight?
Breaking away. And of course, Hoosiers.
Let's win this one for all the small schools who never had a chance to get here.
My all-time number 1. Hoosiers is a perfect movie. The story is true. Well, it's true enough. These current Hoosiers have flipped the script. A story not steeped in nostalgia, but glamour and excitement. An unexcitable coach, disciplined training, and a lot of money to back it up. But the Stars, a team assembled from the overlooked, not an elite 5-star recruit among them. Tomorrow night, Indiana meets its destiny against the Hurricanes of the University of Miami. I can't predict the outcome, but can say with certainty there will be a sea of crimson.
You know, I think that's one of the things that perhaps is most amazing about what the Hoosiers did this year. Greatest turnaround ever in the history of sports, and it was all done without a single 5-star recruit. I mean, they built this thing on a bunch of 2- and 3-star recruits. I mean, guys that were passed over by the Blue Blood programs, guys that were told either directly or maybe indirectly, hey, you're not good enough. You'll never make it with the big dogs. Right? And then you got this Fernando Mendoza right at the center, the leader. But it wasn't about the hype. For him, it was all about the belief. It was about belief in the system. It was about belief in his teammates. It was about belief in something bigger when they all came together toward a common cause. And see, here's the secret right here. Talent isn't the secret. Belief was the X factor. See, this is one of the things the analysts, they missed it all season. See, Indiana didn't suddenly get more talented. What happened is they got more aligned. They became for each other, right? They trusted the process. They didn't take on a sense of shared identity. In fact, Fernando, again, was a great, great example of this. In fact, I want to show you one of his post-game interviews where he talked about how belief played into what they did.
All right, let me close with this. And I get emotional when I think about family, and I admire your faith, and I know how much that matters to you, and I admire how much your family means to you. Seeing you with your family their son, their brother did it, and you got to share that moment with them. What are the emotions that you feel in Miami to do this and have them be able to greet you in that time?
Yeah, my family, I mean, I'm going to get emotional. I mean, they've done so much of myself. All four of my grandparents immigrated from Cuba, and then I had to see my mom, she wins the fight, the mental fight every single day against multiple sclerosis. I see her optimism. I see the way that she instills it in my younger brothers, in myself, and it's done. She's, my whole entire family from top down has done so much for our entire family, and it just instilled that never-ending optimism and never-ending self-belief. No matter if you're the underdog, no matter if you're the overdog, you can always do it. And with them by my side, I know I can accomplish anything, and I love them to death.
As a parent, I could just say all you'd ever hope is that you'd have a son that could somehow reflect the goodness in the world the way you do, man. And I'm not talking about the football, but you're pretty good at that too. So congratulations on tonight. I imagine you'll hear your name called first in the spring. That's a story for another day. But tonight you're first in the nation, national champions. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, guys.
You did.
God bless.
You know what's absolutely amazing about all this is, we're inspired by stories like this. But I don't think we're inspired by them because they're football stories. I think we're inspired because they're God's stories. See, Jesus, when he started his movement, he didn't go out and recruit five-star recruits. He didn't go out and recruit the religious elite. He actually started with just ordinary guys. In fact, the New Testament writers, they talked about these guys. They say when we look at them, they're just like ordinary men. They're like unschooled, ordinary fishermen, tax collectors, just ordinary dudes, guys with rough edges, guys with questionable resumes. Got this ragtag group that Jesus assembled, and yet not only did Jesus include them, he actually went out and he changed the world with them. One of the things that really kind of stood out to me about not just the Peach Bowl, not just the Rose Bowl, not even the college football championship, all these moments, every time Indiana won one of these games, was how these players would go up to Coach. They go up to Coach Signetti, and they say, hey, Coach, thanks for including me. Thanks for bringing me along. Some of these guys, they were the two-star recruits. There were these small schools that never got a look. Thanks for believing in me. Listen, there may be some of us here tonight that need to hear that. There may be some of us tuned in this weekend that need to hear that, God actually believes in you. Maybe you're here today because somebody invited you. Maybe you're here because somebody took a risk and said, hey, I want you to come with me. You might hear something that actually may change the trajectory of your life. Right? Maybe somebody believed in you. Maybe your whole life you've been the one that's felt like you've been passed over. Right? Maybe you've always been the one that's like, hey, listen, I'm not the 5-star. I'm not the first round, draft. But guess what? Neither was Jesus' team. And neither was that national championship team. Let me tell you something. When ordinary people come to the place and say, hey, I believe God has a purpose for me. And they begin to link arms. They begin to trust perhaps God can do something even through them. God doesn't just rewrite stories. You know what he does? He actually writes new stories. He actually writes stories of new trajectories, new opportunities, and new growth. In fact, I want to invite you to pray with me. God, thank you that we can come into this place, we can have fun. Some of us, we needed this story right here. We need to see this Who's Your Story this year, to be reminded that, man, when we feel overlooked, that you still have your eye on us. In fact, thanks for being a God of comebacks. Thanks for being a God who does his best work in graveyards. When everything feels like it's done, it's over, hope is lost, that's where you show up and do some of your finest work. God, I pray you reignite something in us today. Maybe it's a belief. Maybe it's a belief in ourselves. Maybe it's a belief in what you see in us. And God, when we begin to lean into that, we begin to realize that could actually change everything. So God, I just pray something like that begins to happen today. Amen. Amen.
Touchdown. Hoosiers.
Come on. Come on, let's go.
That's what I'm talking about. Big play, big moment.
Yeah.
Hold on.
What do you mean,
We've
hold
got
on?
a booth review.
There's no booth reviews on this. No.
After further review, great message.
Yes.
Strong delivery.
Yes.
Strong crowd response.
Yes.
Historic season.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable turnaround.
Exactly.
However,
do you
the
mean,
material on the field does not qualify as NFL content. This means no points on the play.
Oh, my
Abby is your 2026 Game Day winner.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Take a moment to follow our podcast on your preferred platform and be sure to download our app to stay informed on everything happening here at Crosspoint. And if you like what you heard today, don't hesitate to share it with a friend that might need to hear it too.